Apologize for the delay. Had a good meeting, all hands meeting with our Public Works and Parks and Rec, Fire, Police about getting briefed up for the MLK parade coming up. So I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to start first today. There was an initiative 40 years ago at the city called Direction 85 that was ultimately an investment in the city. City Hall, Bay Bluffs Park, multi-million dollars of transformational opportunity for the city of Pensacola. Where we find ourselves 40 years later is it's time to fix some of those things, and it's time to continue to enhance. So in that, we're unveiling today Direction 25, which is our Pensacola Parks and Rec revitalization effort and initiative. What does that mean? It's $21.7 million in total project focused on repairing and maintaining our city parks and recreation facilities, community centers throughout all our city's 7 districts. So when all is said and done, we'll obviously be giving you this list, and it will be going to Parks and Rec Board and into Council. We will touch at least 54 parks and facilities over a 2-year period. I say at least because we have 94 parks in our city. Some of these things that you will see, these improvements will be small park benches, water fountains, things like that. So it could stretch well beyond the 54, but you'll see some reasonably significant updates to at least 54 parks. Funding comes from multiple sources. So I think one of the biggest misperceptions when we say that we're funding anything, whether it be Palafox Street or this, is that there's this bucket of money that can be invested in anything in the city, and we're choosing to invest it here. Understand the makeup of this $21.4 million is grant funding, some that you guys have already reported on, and I'll talk about in a second. Local option sales tax. Local option sales tax can be used specifically on, as you guys know, on only certain things. So as you report it, certainly I want our public to understand that the $21.4 million isn't a versatile bucket of which can go to anything that they believe is more important. What we're saying is we have cobbled together one specific overt initiative to take on what I said we would when we got here, which is, it is fun to cut ribbons, and in some of the $21.7 million we are going to be. Fricker Center being a prime example of that. We're going to cut ribbon on a new building. But it is replacing and maintaining something that we had. And I'm more excited and motivated to be proud and to have our citizens not go to a park and assume the water fountain doesn't work, but that they assume it does. And so I think this is an important day, an important first step in what will be, again, a multi-year process to take on all these projects. They won't all happen at once. We'll get into those details of how we will be segmenting those and how we will be putting them on to a timeline, and I certainly appreciate Ben, Parks and Rec, and his staff. This is to even get us to this point was a significant lift, as you can imagine, of time and organization and finding priorities, talking to our council members. What are we hearing? What are we seeing out there that needs to be replaced? Dusting off those old lists of things that might have been on the list for a long, long time that now are getting taken care of. So if we talk to the big numbers, you saw some of those behind me. $9.4 million for Fricker Center. That's of course all grant funded. $2.2 million for Bay Bluffs Park. $2.4 million for Bay Bluffs Park. We have some funding in there as well, and $1.4 million each for Sanders Beach and Wayside Park. So we will be giving you guys this list. It'll be going in front of Parks and Rec Board and be on their agenda for them to discuss. But we have had extended conversations with our staff, with our council members. They have seen a version of this list, and ultimately, because we have council members in 7 districts to be the eyes and ears of these neighborhoods, and we ask them. I ask them personally on every one of these. Tell us what we're missing. What's our blind spot? What needs to be taken care of? So I appreciate their input and being able to make sure that when we are taking care of the city, we're taking care of the right thing. So on top of those big numbers, I'll mention a couple things. A lot of the efforts that you'll be seeing will be improving ADA compliance at our parks. And so what you will see on this list is a range of a new community center all the way to a sidewalk that connects the existing sidewalk to the playground that may not exist where it's not ADA compliant. So we really run the gamut of all different types of initiatives. Bayview Dog Park that is long overdue for some improvement, things like that. We have 11 sites that will have multiple amenities or infrastructure upgrades. That is Allen Park, Bay Bluffs Park, I mentioned, Gold Point Resource Center, H.K. Matthews, Wire Park, Hitzman Park, McNeely, Morala, Pintado, Sanders Beach, and Tippin. So again, Parks Board will be briefed, and then this will come to council. There are multiple parks that are being improved in all 7 districts. Again, I appreciate all the effort that it's taken for us to get here, and that 2 years in, we have this concerted effort to say we're going to start taking care of the things that we have and not find ourselves in a lot of the positions that we found ourselves when we got here, and that I hope that the next mayor or 2 or 3 won't have to face some of the difficult decisions and have to deliver the same difficult news that we've had to deliver to our citizens when these things weren't happening. So we're trying to pay it forward to the next administrations in that respect. So happy to take any questions that you have on that in a minute. I'll touch on a couple other important things. I told you that we would give you some more information as it pertains to red light cameras. Jason's passing out the numbers, and I can walk through those with you. What you have in front of you, or these numbers that I'll share with you, and what you have in front of you is January 1st to January 9th. So, we're talking about 9 total days. We can, I'm going to walk through, they're going to pull up in a minute, just some examples of not only you can see the type of quality of video that we have, but maybe some of the most egregious examples in a matter of 9 days. You can see, here behind me will obviously, provide that to you. So this first one was, that was northbound, southbound at 9th and Airport. You may recognize right there by Cordova Mall. The next is, there you go. That was the same one. Northbound at 9th and Bayou would be this example. Clearly, there's lots of conversation spent about being 3 inches over the line. This is what we're concerned about. Then we got another example of an eastbound turn lane view at 9th and Bayou. That's someone, as you can see, the red light left-hand turn lanes have been red the entire time, and as if they weren't there. And then lastly, this is westbound Gregory at 9th Avenue, the on-ramp for I-110 as you go by the Bay Center, that we have just the one approach there. So these are the examples that we're talking about. Sometimes the narrative when change causes anxiety is that we focus on the millimeters someone was over the line. This is the reason that we're doing it. This is what you're seeing. This is what's going to hurt and kill people. So we tend to forget when we're trying to fight against something or resist something, we tend to forget the most blatant examples that we have. So that just gives you a little bit of, and again, this is a 9-day sample. We didn't have to farm through a year of footage to get that. That was 9 days worth, and just a few examples. So from January 1st to January 9th, 9 days, we recorded 509 violations. And those are confirmed and that were approved and that warnings were sent out. Understand that's at 9 approaches. So that's not all the approaches we've had. We had a limb in the way at one of them. We're working through, as we told you we would, through January to get everything up and going. You have the breakdown by approach. And as you cascade this to the public, understand that's not 9 intersections. 9 intersections presumes one intersection's 4 approaches. It's eastbound, southbound, northbound, westbound. So when we say 9 approaches, we're talking about just one direction of an intersection. So do the math. As you can see, what we're really showing you is 2 intersections. 9th and Bayou, 9th and Airport, and then the only other outlier to that is Gregory Street, the on-ramp, the last one you just saw. So it's 2 full intersections, 9 days, 509 violations. So you can go ahead and do the math by hour or by 30-minute window. And it's as I said to you before, it's a staggering number. And honestly, not only does it reaffirm what we're doing here, but we wonder why we have all of our resources, our police officers, at all of these accidents. we've got to do something about it. We got to do, and remember, this is 509 violation. Imagine if we did this without any signs that say photo enforced. So understand, all of these intersections that you guys are going to be reporting on are clearly marked. You see the flashes. It says photo enforced already. So just imagine what this number would have been over 9 days if we had done nothing. And I would argue probably hundreds more. And so this is why I believe that having this grace period is important, is for us to share this information. And you can see I believe we've got 13 approaches in total, so we'll have another 4 coming online, Fairfield and Davis, Fairfield 9th. So those have not been recorded. We don't have numbers on them. We're happy to get into whatever details that you would like. But we have a problem, flat out. We have a problem, and we're putting our neighbors and our visitors and our residents' lives in danger. And this is why we have to address it, even when it's not comfortable. You see the biggest ones: East Gregory at 9th Avenue in 9 days, 143 red lights run, and Bayou at 9th eastbound, 123. So single approaches over 9 days having more than 120 violations. We'll continue to use the remainder of this month to educate drivers, obviously reminding them that cameras are still here. If this was about money, we wouldn't be talking about it. This is about, as I've told you guys before, the best check I could ever write is if we have to compensate the vendor because no one's running red lights. That's a check I'd be happy to write. And I just hope that you sharing this information and people being more aware, we are happy to advertise where these are, because what that means is you're more aware, which means you don't run the red light. That's what we want. So I appreciate you guys sharing that information, and we still are on schedule for issuing citations on February 1st. Last thing, and I've got a couple smaller items, but I want to get y'all's questions on these 3 bigger issues. Special event security, I mentioned. We've had several all-hands meetings leading up to today. We had another one briefing on MLK. Let me first say, obviously, if you've seen the weather forecast, it is looking to be very, very cold during the parade. So children taking part, please be aware. I know sometimes with parades we'll have kids leave the house and make sure that we stick a jacket on them and do what we can to protect them from the cold weather. We obviously are preparing for that, and we're in conversations with the event organizer. And there will be tweaks, some small tweaks to normal road closures in terms of where we're putting equipment and where we're putting security. This is a great practice for us as I mentioned to you guys last week, we come into this new world of where people are attempting to use vehicles to terrorize and hurt and kill people in cities. And so this has been really a great practice for us, and you'll continue to see some short-term things. Some of those additional barricades, yes, those will be out, for example, but there's also some things that we're not really going to be keen on sharing with everybody that we're going to be doing that will start with this parade. And we're also having conversations about the long-term, what do we do in 2026 and beyond in terms of big transformational changes, maybe the parade route, maybe how soon it closes down, towing vehicles, things like that. So we got a lot working there, and I very much appreciate our team for that is very, very busy across all of these different departments, but we also understand what priority one is. All of us do, as I've mentioned to you before, which is keeping people safe. So we've dropped a lot of what we were doing to make sure that this is addressed for this parade and beyond. And again, any questions that I can answer, I'm happy to do that. City Hall, of course, will be closed on Monday for the holiday as well. So I do want to mention one quick thing and take your questions. You'll see signs going out in the parade route today. That's one I can share with you. One example that in previous years we would allow the event organizer, the parade organizer, to put out the no parking signs as the parade's gone up. It's not consistent enough. So one parade might put them out 2 hours before, one might put them out the day before. So that's just a good example of one I can share with you. A good example of we're going to rein that back in. We're going to standardize when those signs go out, what they say, and make sure we don't want anybody's car in the parade route from a security standpoint, and we don't want anybody to get their car towed. I mean, we're not trying to make anybody's life difficult, but with inconsistent rules comes ambiguity and inconsistency of results. So So we continue to work diligently on that, and you guys will probably either be seeing some or hearing more and more of some of these changes and modifications that we'll be making as we move forward. So again, I got a couple other small things, but happy to take your questions on parks, red light cameras, or parades.
The revitalization project, when will that begin, and what's the first park on the list if there's one already next?
Yeah, we have an entire list. I've looked at it so many times. I mean, it's a multi-page spread, Excel spreadsheet that has different windows of, some are going to. Let's take Bay Bluffs Park and Fricker. Well, I already had our kickoff meeting with Fricker Center with our designer. A $9 million project is going to have a longer window than of course, fixing the Bayview Dog Park. So our team has put together what those expected windows are in the document that will be in the Parks and Rec Board meeting, or if we're not haven't distributed it already. So off the top of my head, I can't remember. To answer your question, there's going to be several that are going to be kind of starting at the same time. But the reason that, and why I'm so appreciative of our staff getting this together is this isn't just let's fix 54 parks and start tomorrow. There's lots of sequencing, lots of understanding of what's going to take longer. When do we get the grant funding for something? Well, then it may not start for, so in the case of Fricker Center, we got to design Fricker Center. So it is a priority, but it's just going to take some time. So all of that has been thought through in the document that you see. And like anything, you're going to go spend $21 million in 54 parks. I am sure that will change. We might see a delay on a piece of equipment, or whatever the case may be. So, but we have several that are already in planning that might be ready for execution. But because of the multi phases of all of these and the severity of all of them, how expensive they are and what it's going to take, it's kind of all over the map. Yeah, but that map we have for you and can illustrate that to you in a general sense of where we are in the planning phase, where we are in construction, et cetera.
A similar question, I guess, do you have like a ballpark guess of like the percentage of these projects that will be at least somewhat complete by, say, the end of your first term?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we added up all of those, rough schedules, then I don't have that answer off the top of my head, but it'll be evident in the, we're looking at this as a 2-year, we wouldn't be saying we're going to fix something, I'd feel, like I was misleading if I'd said we're going to fix something in 5 years, So, I think our general goal of what's coming in front of you today, 21.7 million, is things that we're hoping to get done within the next 24 months. So I would say everything on this list, that's the expectation. Obviously, lots of variables and moving parts. But for example, this 21.7 doesn't include the 5 million we just received for Hollis T. Williams, or the 30 million. We didn't include that, but even though that is going to be a park and maybe a generational one, is because the original funding was stormwater related, and we didn't want to. Again, we're trying to, be as accurate as we can. A lot of that $30 million is going to be going to stormwater infrastructure that will create a park, but we're not trying to say it's both. However, the new $5 million changes that, because that $5 million really will be much more direct to this. So that 21.7 really last week in my head and how we calculated kind of went up, because that 5 million will be able to be used on access to the greenway, amenities that go on the greenway that are more in the wheelhouse of Parks and Rec and less in the wheelhouse of stormwater. Yeah.
One more thing with the red light cameras, I feel like that's a pretty generous window, giving till February 1st. What went into that decision to move it that long versus like a week or week and a half?
Well, again, our goal, change causes anxiety, and then people presume things. Hey, this is something financial. We're shortening yellow light. I mean, it's why we put all those FAQs out. We've heard it all so far on why we're doing what we're doing. We are trying to be as overt as possible. We are screaming from the mountaintop that these cameras have gone in. We don't want anybody getting a ticket. But you just saw those videos. What I really don't want is anybody doing what I just saw in these videos. That's what I really don't want. And then the second thing I don't want is anybody to get a ticket. Why do we write tickets for speeding? Why do we write them for? It's because you're impeding on the ability for someone to stay safe. And so we did this grace period because, one, we wanted to illustrate, we knew we had a problem. We had already measured this before. We wanted to show our citizens in real time that this isn't about wanting to write tickets. This is about safety. And so this grace period, our opinion was, it allows everyone to get acclimated, see the flashes at night, all those things where it's coming. I believe if it's not loaded on every Waze and Google Maps, like I think those are already, so if you're using a GPS, it's already notifying you that it's photo enforced at these intersections. Even the ones I think that aren't even online yet, I think it's already doing that. So that's why, because our goal is awareness, and our goal is for people to not run the red light. And so we felt that giving this grace period to show, hey, I know this is for generations we haven't cared about this, but now we do, and so we want to give everybody as good a heads up as possible, and certainly appreciate the media sharing and making folks more aware of this, because that is our goal.
Mayor, going back to the park revitalization, how much, in looking at the budget, how much is that you already have in hand in grants for the 20-something million?
Yeah, I can get you that exact number, but I can tell you, half of that easily off because of the 2 grants we got for Fricker, and then the 2.2 million for Bay Bluffs. That's
right.
11 and change. We can get you that to the dollar what that exact number is, because we have it set out that way. So there'll probably be, just going off the top of my head, there might be a couple other smaller grants that I'm not thinking of, but nothing.
I'm trying to do the same math in my head.
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
to figure it out too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'll be the majority of, mainly because of the Fricker, project, but, and that we're so fortunate to have gotten the 5 million and the 4.5. And really, really excited after our first kickoff meeting, about that project and the community engagement we'll be doing to make sure it's a community center for 2025 that people need there. So we can get you that exact number. But I would say the majority of this is LOS. I would imagine just rough grants and LOST is going to be your significant portions of this that are either already some. And remember the 1.7 million set aside that from many months ago that I told you guys about, that during the carry forward process we just said we're just going to sock away 1.7 million. I failed to mention Cobb Center. That's another one, 1.7 million for the outside envelope of getting Cobb Center, so we don't find ourselves in the same situation that I inherited at Malcolm Young. And so that is part of this project as well, is the 1.7 at Cobb Center.
Specifically on the local option sales tax funds, I guess that's the whole thing is a 10-year plan that the city has out. So how much change have you made to that plan to kind of refocus this on park?
I think we're always evaluating, where we're using LOST, because it can be used for public safety, it can be used for repair and maintenance if it's at parks that were funded by LOST. So, like any other fund that we have, we're always about shifting that around based on what the greatest priorities are, and council members change, council area priorities change, administrations change, and it's not always as simple as saying, well, we might have moved money from this bucket to that bucket because we think it's more important. It might be that the bucket it was in doesn't make sense today, or it might be, hey, we went and got a price on that, instead of 500,000, it's 3 million. We need to reassess. Why don't we take that 500,000, get it to use today, and let's fight that battle? So there's lots of factors that go into, and not just the one you think of off the top of, we would all think of off the top of our head, which is, well, wait, you took money out of that and put it to that. You don't care about this other one? Of course we do. But it might be that we're addressing it in some other way. I think actually the one that started that you'll see, I'll give an example, is when I got here, you may recall that there had been $800,000 or $900,000 put away for a potential community center at Tippin. At 9.5 million for Fricker, I can tell you 800,000 isn't going to go a long way. So what did we do? Well, what we did is we took a chunk of that, moved it over for Roger Scott pool bathrooms, which is a today problem, and then we had $350,000 left. To this day, we have $350 left in there. Something, I'm going off memory, so you can verify this, but. So what are we doing with that? Well, Tippin, the playground park itself is in desperate need of ADA compliance, of all of those things. So So while it might have been born in a previous council and a previous administration as improving something in that district, we still are improving something in that district. It just may not be exactly what was envisioned before. So what are we doing instead? We're spending $350,000 at Tippin Park. That is a today problem. The playground is severely outdated. It needs ADA compliance, all of those other things. So that same community, that same neighborhood will get an amenity, a park improvement that is what we believe is a better fit and more is addressing more of a primary need than something that was proposed several years ago. So that's kind of just a little bit of behind the curtain of as we look at what's moving and what department it was in. There's lots of things that we factor in, in terms of time, in terms of priority, and everything else.
On the red light cameras, and I understand if you can't answer this,
Yeah.
but do you know if any of these were, I guess, repeat offenders? I mean, that was so comfortable going through. It seems like repeat
Yeah,
offenders.
like you're used to
Yeah.
blowing through that red light all the time. Yeah, no, too comfortable for my liking. No, I mean I don't have that information, and I'm not sure. That would be a Mike Wood probably if we would be able to identify. I imagine we might be able to share a number. There were 10, obviously not specific information, but well, and all I can I guess they'll be getting 2 or 3 or 4 letters in the mail with warnings. But yeah, whatever we can share with you, certainly we will.
I was gonna ask is, because last week you said you weren't sure if they were getting warning letters during this grace period, so.
I believe they are. Yeah, that's what I've been told. Anything else?
I have
Yeah.
some
Other?
off-topic
Okay,
questions.
sure. Go ahead.
Can you speak about the proposal for the Baptist Hospital property that's on the agenda tonight? It shows images of both affordable housing complex and a senior center
Yeah.
for senior citizen housing.
So if you recall, part of when Baptist, before our discussions about land donation, they had engaged in conversations with PACES for doing affordable, 2 affordable buildings, 100 senior units, 100 family units that applied for tax credits. And both of those projects were awarded tax credits. So obviously, what's our goal with the donation of Baptist Hospital is to create housing. And so obviously as we evolved our conversations, Baptist and us, about land donation, it came up to say, well, hey, here's 12 acres that's, there's already kind of a plan for. Well, it would be a little ironic for me to say, well, don't build that affordable housing so we can go build affordable housing. We felt that the best thing for the community was for Baptist to continue to engage with PACES and create those units that will happen much sooner than anything that's going to happen after demolition and all that. So the proceeds of that sale are being pledged to the demolition. So Baptist will, I believe the closing right now is slated for February with PACES. And then that funding, the proceeds of that sale to PACES will just go into helping get the building down. But what you see in front of you, I believe, is a second reading of the vacation of the right-of-way. 8th Street used to be a street, and then Baptist, then it became a parking lot. So ultimately, it's really the second reading. It's really more logistical of the street going between the 2 buildings that they're putting on. And again, this is a second read, so I'd be surprised if there was any issues with that.
And then has there been any movement on the development of the Pensacola Tech Park? We heard there were interested companies, and what is the city doing to market the property, and any challenges?
Yeah, well, from a city standpoint, we're always collaborative in trying to help. Ultimately, the marketing right now, it's owned by the PEDC and Florida West, so it's that's their primary function, is to be out marketing that property. We certainly would happy to work with them, or we want to see something there. Of course, I think it's been a long time, and I think it's important. I know there's new leadership at Florida West that's focused on that. Of course, our Erica and our economic development office, as people reach out to us and look for we consider that obviously something in the city limits that what we may not control, primarily someone else does. Of course, if there's some way we can be helpful, we always will. So you'd have to ask them in terms of what their marketing priorities are. and all that. But do we have urgency to have something there finally? Absolutely. I'd love to see something get going in any way we can help do that. I'd love to.
All right, and
Go
this
ahead.
last one from me. Have you looked at any of the executive orders Trump plans on signing day one, and are there any local impacts that you can speak to?
I haven't. I imagine I'll get coached up and schooled up on that. I'm leaving this afternoon for U.S. Conference of Mayors in Washington, and getting to present on some of our success stories to mayors all over the country, like Hollis T. Williams, doing a presentation to mayors on that, as well as hiring veterans, and Captain Kinsella, of course, is coming with me. That probably knows a little bit more about that than I do. But the topic of conversation with all mayors in the country is going to be what now, like it would be with any new president, and that means new people, new staff, new leadership, new initiatives, and certainly as part of now U.S. Conference of Mayors leadership, that we're going to be examining that and trying to figure out our best steps forward. So I'll know a lot more when I see you next time, and be a little more schooled up on all that.
You gonna attend the inauguration?
I am, yeah. So
And the ball?
The Florida, I believe I'll be at the Florida ball on Saturday. But U.S. mayors, this meeting is every January in D.C., and it's a good opportunity. The reason they have it in D.C. is because they're able to get leadership. Whether the ones I've been to, Secretary of State's been, Secretary of Transportation. I believe the current, at least for a couple more days, the current president is coming by our meeting, and in his last couple days in office. So it gives the opportunity to have that direct interaction with national leadership and for the mayors to be able to set policy. So this will be my first meeting as the chair of all the mayors in jobs, education, and workforce. So I'll be presenting on that and what the city's policy priorities are for our Congress and legislature. So excited to take on that role for the first time and start to have those conversations as well.
Mayor, has there been a decision made on the downtown post office?
Not any nothing that's changed, other than I continue to hear that I haven't been told it isn't happening, from what I can tell you. So
Hasn't the location been picked?
it's.
I know they indicated that they were close in
Mhm.
November.
Well, I'll answer that by I don't know if they've made it public, but so and maybe they have and I didn't see it, but I could tell you that it feels like a location's been picked, and I want to make sure I get my mail on time, so I'm not going to share where
So
they're considering.
if we reported it as the old Sluggos, will we have a problem?
I'd ask your postman when he comes by Palafox Place and or Seville Tower, and ask him. He might know better than me, but you're a longtime reporter. You'll be able to figure out if that's
I think
close
I
or
have.
not. Yeah. You might have. I don't know.
I might have.
Quick
Yeah.
question. The census this morning picked Ashley Moody to replace Rizio. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's great. I would say of all of our, I always mention, and I'll see him this week, Senator Scott has been probably the best ally you could ever ask for at the Senate level. I hear from him more than any national or your federal legislator. When anything happens here, he calls me. And so Ashley, my experience with Ashley and meeting her, and she understands this area, and I'm very, very appreciative to have her. I think it will actually be even a step up in more awareness of what's going on, in the Panhandle. Running statewide office is hard. You got a big long state with millions and millions of people. So I think having Senator Scott and Senator Moody is a good thing for the city of Pensacola. So great working relationship with her, always open eyes and ears, and picks up our phone calls when we need something as AG. I expect that won't change as senator. So excited to have her on board.
Any stats for the airport? I know Silver is filing.
You might be reading my notes. So we just got some. Matt gave us the December traffic numbers, comparing December 24 last month to December 23. We're up 7.3%. and we had nearly 250,000 people in December alone. So overall fiscal year to date growth, so fiscal year October 1 to now, or I guess it would be October, really the first quarter, October to December, was 8.76. So over the 3 million number that we had in the previous. So the other interesting thing, I know we've mentioned one other time, so it's starting to look like more of a trend, was we're seeing significant cargo traffic increases at the airport. I don't remember the numbers other than that they were triple digits year over year. It was increases of 100+%. We have 3.6 million pounds of air freight moving through each month right now. So kind of an interesting, a development of whether that's UPS or, we could probably drill deeper, but that's a good thing. That's also, revenue for the airport and support that helps us build terminals and everything else. So all that activity is a good thing, and certainly encouraged to see that.
Mayor, I wanted to ask you about the University of West Florida. It's obviously a huge presence in the city in terms of, I know it's also, trying to partner with them at the port and
Yep.
everything. And is there any concern that Governor DeSantis's appointments to the board and appears to be politicizing the UWF board would hurt the university, hurt the community in terms of economic development or just national reputation?
Yeah, I mean, I think if change took place at any of our anchor thing, whether it be the military base or West Florida or Pensacola State, these anchors of our community, we should always be paying attention to that and what that means. Certainly Governor DeSantis has, I'm sure, some strategy or a plan in mind. I haven't been briefed or specific on what that is, but so we'll see how that plays out. But I would answer it as University of West Florida is a treasure of this community, and its in its performance and ability to perform is vital to the health of this community. So there's certain things, as the mayor of the city of Pensacola, I don't have a lot to say of what happens at the University of West Florida, but as the person who represents the city, what happens there does matter, so we're watching and we're paying attention to what's going on there. I certainly hope as change happens that we are engaged in that, and that the local community is part of whatever strategic direction that we're going. Regardless, we can speculate as to what the governor is wanting to do or not wanting to do. I'm not going to do that, but what I'll say is I certainly hope that I'm by the phone waiting to be part of the conversation to make sure that what happens at the University of West Florida and always long term affects us in the city, and that we're at the ready to be helpful and to be supportive of the continued success of the university. I feel like the University of West Florida has done an outstanding job in educating our students, and that's not just my opinion. I think the data shows that, and I would hope wherever we go from here that we don't lose the primary goal, mission in mind, which is building our talent workforce, helping our local kids be successful, and again, myself as mayor and the city of Pensacola is at the ready to be helpful in any way we can to ensure that continues. Yeah.
Mayor, any update from the third-party audit of ST Engineering Workforce?
So I don't have an update for you today. We continue to meet. Right now, we had a meeting. I'm not going to try to recite exactly what day. We have one every 2 months. At this point, getting caught up on things. So that last update, which has been a few weeks now, was that process of the HR analysis of what opportunities, all that is underway. Is my understanding. So I don't know that we have a result from that. I also do know that the request that I had of getting additional information in terms of reporting, job reporting, that is already taking place as well. So that we are receiving more proactively the information on job count. That some and this is work that in some facets of the grant money that was awarded to the project was already having to take place in certain places, but it wasn't required here, and so we've changed that. And so I would encapsulate it this way. ST understands where we were coming from, and we were very clear about that this is our project and a community project, and that community is all of us, including them, and that we have these new expectations moving forward. And so I would encapsulate it as we have not had any hiccups so far that I would perceive as hiccups to what our expectations are moving forward.
Is there an outside audit firm involved, and if so, who contracted, who's paying for it?
I'd have to get details from Erica, and I want to make sure that we're clear in audit. Are we specifically talking about the HR oversight? That was the request. When we say audit, it may not be necessarily that we're going to financially audit the company.
That's a good point. What would you call the effort that's going on?
So the primary effort of that would be anything that would be you would signify as an audit, in my opinion, would be helping us better understand hiring practices there, and not ST tell us what they think, and that the city or the mayor, who isn't qualified to give an expert opinion on that, to tell them what I think. We're going to bring an expert in to say, here's what ST's doing well on the HR side that makes sense. Here's what they're not doing well. And I want to be clear, that doesn't mean we're not checking their policy of how long their lunch hour is. When we say HR policy, we're talking about how do they go find local people to work here. That should always be our primary function. So I believe Landrum is doing that. I'll have to confirm that, or Jason can help you with. Erica is overseeing all of that, and she can get you more detailed information. But overall, I feel good. We have not seen any pushback. Actually, in addition to some of the things that I had outlined many months ago, and another thing we added was we're going to also be getting a outside analysis of competitive pay. So again, we're not going to decide what ST thinks, what the mayor thinks. We're going to say, what do these jobs pay? Because at the end of the day, and I use this example all the time, when we upped the pay for firefighters, we went from not that many cadet applications to 121. And my joke has always been, I'd love to say it's because they love the mayor and the direction of the city, but I think it was the pay. That would be the same thing at ST. We can do all of this work. We can get the school, Pensacola State, on site at the airport. We can go to Workman Middle School and get an academy going. We can go to Washington. We can do all those things. If the pay isn't competitive, we're not in the position that we need to be in. So we, in addition to the things I had outlined several months ago, that's another request that we've had on in the meantime, is that we're going to have an objective analysis of what competitive pay means for our market, to make sure that all of this effort isn't going flat because SC's not paying to the level they would need to.
Following up on Jim's question about UWF.
Yeah.
How would you grade Martha Saunders as the president of UWF, her job?
Good. I guess
Just
is it letter grades because it's a school? I think she's done a phenomenal job. I think where do you want to look? Enrollment. Just at every metric that you see, I think UWF is doing an amazing job. We have a great working relationship with Martha. She picks up the phone and is if we've got an outside the box idea. Jim mentioned already, we got UWF Engineering going into the port that I think has the potential to be a great synergy with American Magic's arrival and their needs as they move forward. So they've been willing to think outside the box with us and work directly with us on all sorts of issues. And so I think Martha's done an awesome job. It's left for you guys to decide what changes mean and all that. Again, I'm not going to speculate on what is or isn't going to happen, but to answer your question, I very much appreciate Martha Saunders being at UWF, and I think they should be proud of the accomplishments that they've had under her leadership. All right, and then airport updates I touched on. Sorry, just the last couple. Resident satisfaction survey reminder. It is uwf.edu/Haas resident survey. We have gotten, so I believe we're over 1,000. responses already. So we've gotten a great sample size. So I think it ends tomorrow. I believe the 17th is the last day of that. So good news is we got thank you to the city residents that have filled that out. You got another day to do that. I mentioned the DOT grant, and Rachel Bennett, Caitlin Sarame, Catherine Kuhn, Joelle Holland put a ton of work into this application, and over multiple years since really we've been here. Since we've been working on the stormwater aspect as well. And so what is vital about that $5 million is that's the first money we have to add amenities to the park. The $30 million we have is great because it's fixing a stormwater problem, but that $30 million can't be spent on bathrooms, on amenities, on access to the park. There's some limitations of the existing funding. So I can't tell you how proud I am to say, we've talked about this park for 20 years, and when I walked in here, we had spent a couple $1 million on a design, as far as we've gotten as a community, as a region. So to have $35 million is an incredible testament to the staff here. And why do they do that? Why are we getting this funding? Because I think that the folks that are making these decisions can see the importance of reconnecting this community first and foremost. And I think they can see the passion and intentionality that we have through my work with MICD and Harvard on this project, through our staff's work on that. So when our application goes in, I feel like it's considered, because this isn't just some flippant idea that we've come up with. This is generations in the making, and so to have $35 million to make that happen, man, it's a blessing and a testament to so much hard work that's happened here. And then lastly, the 9th Avenue Outfall project is to help improve resiliency during larger storm events along 9th Avenue from Bayfront to Romana, down in that lower area there by VMP. You see a lot of flooding generationally there. So we are going to start that on January 21st. So you'll start to see some work down in that area. That's been on the docket for quite a while, and it's, I believe, at least a significant portion, if not all, was ARPA funded. So we got that in and done before encumbered before December 31st, and that work will be underway. So that's that much more. You guys already reported on B Street and all of that down by Joe Patty's. That's going to help about 1,700 houses. Here's another project. So and then on top, $35 million for Hollis T. Williams. We're really getting going in terms of trying to be more resilient and handle the stormwater issues that we've had for generations. Yeah.
Mayor, the GL52 group circulated a video of him and you talking here recently. Could you give me a quick update on what the city's support for this event looks like?
Yeah.
Global type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This, I believe, the two GL52 events, March and April, I believe, are the first of a generation of these significant international level sailing events that are here solely because of our relationship with American Magic. And when I say we plant the flag as a sailing destination in the United States of America, this really is what I'm talking about, and I believe this will be truly the greatest win of economic development for our community. Having our name on the sail and during America's Cup is awesome, and but what that really is what does it mean for us? What does it mean for our community? What does it mean for our small businesses? What I think it means is 6, 7, 8 regattas a year internationally being in the city of Pensacola, and those folks coming in and enjoying their time here and spending money here. That's where we're going to see a direct return. And so I know, John, you may be familiar with GL52s. If you aren't, we're talking about significant, large, multi-million dollar vessels with crews. Just the 6, 7, 8 teams that are coming in at the cruise alone is about 200 people. And so our support has been logistic at this point. They're going to be using the port some. They're going to be using, I know, some areas down by Plaza de Luna down there. Obviously, we're making available if the day use marina is needed. So I think our support really so far, it has been logistical, and I'm going to host a small event for all the team members, really just to put our best foot forward and say thank you for investing in our city, and make sure that we capture that win of having and making sure that people have a good first impression, so we can start to see this more and more. being in sales is a big part of my job, and I think selling this city to people where this might be their first time, and we want them to come back is a primary function of my job.
There's a number of members of the New York Yacht Club who are GL52 owners.
They are. Actually,
This is kind of a junket to glory here for sailing.
it is, and I believe Doug DeVos, the principal of American Magic, is sailing one of the boats as well. So we're very, very excited for it, and I love this early. We don't even have the building done, and we're starting to see that type of return. We're even making some adjustments. We're moving around some things with our event permitting and things like that. We've for many years have really had one person. We're creating a new position where they're focused only on the tourist attracting, year-long events. So your seafood fest, your arts fest, regattas. Because of these regattas coming in, we know we're going to need to pay special attention. So we're going to kind of have the larger scale event permit person, and then we'll have someone doing the 5K runs and kind of the more of the blocking and tackling of all these dozens and dozens of events. But if we're going to want to put our best foot forward, and we say this is economic development, we need to make sure we've got the resources. So we're already moving internally. We're moving in the direction to make sure we've got better bandwidth to start to handle these bigger events.
Have you asked Visit Pensacola to jump in on this, along with the city financially?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not necessarily financially. And again, with GL52s, there hasn't been a financial ask. This is really just, again, more of, using slip, area in the port and things like that. Obviously, those are things that we're contributing. But, and again, that's another part of it. Having American Magic here and the credibility that brings, this won't be the first time or near the last time that we're going to start to have these events. And so we want to make sure we're prepared for it. There's lots of outside support. Sail Pensacola and the Yacht Club, of course, they're going to be part of this moving forward, and their expertise and understanding and infrastructure as well. So this will be a really interesting spring, to start to see these two international events. And I love having these folks come in that I haven't met, and they're like, man, how have we not found this place before? It's perfect for sailing in terms of the bay, in terms of the lack of traffic on the bay. It's all of the amenities that they want to be able to put on an international event. And so the American Magic's discovery of Pensacola is now compounding into the sailing industry's discovery of Pensacola. And so we're very excited for that. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you so much.
Pensacola, 1230 WMPY.
Hey, all you cool cats out there. It's another sunny day in Pensacola, and I got some breaking news for you. Mayor Reeves is holding a press conference right now, and there's going to be a huge investment coming from the city for all of our great parks out there. That's right, I'm talking moolah, cheddar, the green, cold hard cash, baby. And it's the biggest investment in our parks and community centers in city history. More info later, but for now, I got a certified, fresh, funky tune for you. Turn it up.